You don't often see Nick Saban talk about players in such glowing terms as he used for Justice Haynes. You really don't see it for true freshmen. He's done it twice now, basically saying the same thing both times, Clint, but both times with you guys asking questions behind a microphone, he has talked about Justice Haynes in as glowing terms as he will ever talk about a player. That speaks volumes about what he's seen about Haynes already at Alabama.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that Nick Saban understands, like, you're not going to be able to keep this guy hidden, like, as much as you want to. Anybody that watches, and granted, his production, especially on the ground, it wasn't world changing on Saturday. I think that was a lot more of a product of the offensive line, not necessarily getting the push that they needed to. He was working behind the second team offensive line that consisted of a lot of true freshmen that are still trying to figure some things out. I think the defensive line depth is a little bit better than the offensive line depth right now. So when you start working into your, second teams, I do think that the defensive line is going to have a pretty big advantage over the offensive line. But when you watch Justice Haynes, everything that you would look for out of the position, he can do, right? I mean, he's adequate in pass protection. I haven't seen any issues on that front. I thought he had a couple of really good, blocks on Saturday, finding the right man, getting him blocked. And then, when you look at him as a runner, he brings the power element that Alabama's offense has been missing the last couple of years. Brian Robinson brought it in 2021, but I think that Brian was more of just a hammer. I think that Justice Haynes can be a little bit more dynamic than that. And I think, just the usage in the passing game. Like, for whatever reason, Haynes didn't get a ton of opportunities in high school to catch the football. When you started seeing him go through, the Under Armour All-American game and a lot of those, circuits, he really displayed the ability to do it. And that's continued ever since, back in December when he first arrived on campus. He's been a guy who can catch the football and run the football. And you got to see him do a little bit of both of those two things on Saturday. And it's been impressive.
So I saw that Caleb Downs wins the Leroy Jordan Headhunter Award. Everybody's been talking about Downs. Is he going to be the freshman defensive version of what you're talking about with Justice right now?
I definitely I think he I do think he's one of the best players on the team, if not the best player on the team. And granted, I think there's an argument for several guys, but when you look at what he can do for the defense, as far as just being a transformative defensive back, you can look to the Tennessee game last year and a lot of the issues that they had covering, or stopping Tennessee's offense. A presence like Caleb Downs would do a lot in alleviating those issues. He brings the physicality that DeMarco Hellams did as far as run stopping ability and, rolling up into the box and making plays and tackles, very reliable tackler. But just he doesn't have the deficiencies in coverage and the limitations in coverage that DeMarco Hellams did, or that you saw, out of Malachi Moore when he was having to play star. I think moving Malachi to star is really going to help him. It's going to solve a lot of problems. You bring in a guy like Earl Little Jr., who's probably going to start at that position. He's got a lot of perimeter cornerback experience, but he's also very scrappy. He can play that position effectively. And then you bring in a guy like Caleb Downs as your other safety, to where when they're kind of using, shifts and motions to try to create matchups, you've got a guy who you can rely on. So I just think what he's going to be able to provide the back half of Alabama's defense is something that they haven't had really in quite a while. And I'm excited to watch him, see what he can do.